welcome all the committee members here, and also welcome Mr. Alford and Chief Guerin. Thank you so much for being here today. If you would, we'll take a second and say a prayer and the pledge, and then move on into the resolution and the agenda items. Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for all your many blessings, especially during this time of this Christmas season, that we're able to remember and reflect on this past year of all the things that you have blessed us with. Lord, we ask that you be with us during this time and let us do your work and your will, Lord. Thank you so much for everything that you've given. In Jesus' name, amen. Denny, you want to lead the pledge, sure, if you don't mind?
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. If you would, look on the second page of the packet that Lori gave us. It is Resolution 2023-40. This resolution was adopted on September 19th, and then the appointed of the Emergency Fire Director September 1st, 2023 was when this was adopted. Basically, it forms this this EMS and the fire committees. If you would, just take time to review it and read it, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer those. Seeing no questions, we will move on. And we do not need to adopt that into the meeting minutes or nothing. Perfect. Chief Guerin, thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and meet with us. Would like to go over a couple different things with you since our last meeting. Just kind of talk about the billing update since we moved to that new system that you guys have put in, see how those things are going, if there are any questions, to try and, give you time to go and either answer those today or get that information and get it back to us, and we can bring that back up in our next meeting and next minutes. Collections report, also talk about hospital wait times, and from seeing the reporting, it looks like those have greatly improved, I think, especially with, kind of COVID. I know it's kind of making its way back a little bit, but, not to the height that it was back in the day. And then also just talk about your fleet status and also staffing and things of that nature as well. So we'll start and go with a billing update and then go through, and we will, if you don't mind, if we could, we'll go through the billing update, and then we'll see if there's any questions, and go to the next, see if there's any questions, and then if there's any other business anybody has, and then we'll close the meeting. It shouldn't be too difficult or painful. So, but we'll start with a billing update, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers, and thank you, committee members and Mayor. I put together this report, sadly, before the agenda, so it's a little out of, it doesn't follow the flow of the agenda. But on page 2 of the handout I give you, it addresses our collections. As you know, as a commission, we elected to swap billing companies. We took bids, and the bids were awarded in August of 2023, and we notified our previous billing company, who did submit a bid, that we were going with another company, A&B, and we notified them is approximately August the 14th, I believe, or 24th. It is mid-August. I don't remember the exact date. Well, unbeknownst to us, they ceased all operations that day. They stopped doing any billing for us as of that day. We were scheduled to get started with A&B October 1. There's usually a wind-down period. From what I understand, when you go through these transitions, there was no cooperation with the former company there was no wind down period whatsoever. Thankfully, we reached out to A&B, and we didn't catch this for quite some time. We thought business was as usual. But then we found out that they just stopped that day that we notified them. So A&B stepped up. They wasn't prepared to begin till October the 1st. They started digging in. They sent us our 12 laptop computers that was part of the proposal. We do have them in service and working out on the rigs. As with, from my understanding, once they changed billing companies once before, prior to my time, you know, we're going to see a little dip in revenue, as you can see from the graph below, indicated in September and October. However, we're going to see a little bit, we're not going to recover as well as I would like to have seen if we had had a good transition. During this time, October, September, there was a lot of TennCare calls that we had. And A&B was going back and resubmitting all this stuff that we had submitted to Digitech for billing that they had not billed. And they've been successful in doing that. However, we run into a roadblock with TennCare. All the TennCare calls, they fall under, and I'm not for certain the exact amount of time, but there's a timely manner clause. If they're not billed in a timely manner, they're not going to pay. So there's quite a few TennCare calls in that batch that was dropped by Digitech that we are probably, we're not going to see any money from. That's been the only big hiccup. I say kudos to A&B because we basically called them and said, hey, we're in a mess. Can you help? And they rolled their shirt sleeves up and jumped right in and took over billing basically a month, almost a month and a half before they were set up. We're still getting things set up, and it's still a process, but they are actively billing for us as we speak.
How's the relationship with A&B been in comparison to Digitech? I know in the past you mentioned that there was a pretty difficult relationship with Digitech and being able to work with them and things like that. Has A&B seemed to be a kind of a difference?
Oh, it's night and day. We deal with one or two people that's dedicated to us instead of calling a call center and getting, you know, whoever. We've got certain people that's assigned just to the Bradley County account. I know the ladies in the office, they're in constant communications with them day to day, whether it be via phone or email. And I've got a great relationship with I don't know, I guess you'd call him the sales representative. I don't know if he's the manager of but he and I talk on almost a weekly basis. And if we find things that we want to fine tune, or if they see something that we need to fine tune, it's just a phone call or an email away.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Collins?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gainer, for being here. Can you just explain to me the correlation between the amount deposited and the number of transports? I want to make sure that I understand that correctly.
Well, it's, as this is laid out, as you can see, the number of responses, that's how many times we have went out on calls. Say for July, we went out 2,424 times. We only transported 1,188 of those. So those 1,188 are billed.
Correct. So that's where our revenue comes from, the transports, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
So what I note in this, you know, if you look at the totals from deposited at the bottom, I mean, you're looking at $315 per transport. What's really neat about that is in November, we were well above that per transport at $519. So I think hopefully we will recoup and recover what we lost in September and October. because even at the peak in July and August, we're looking at roughly $40 per transport. So that's very promising. If I want to make sure I read that correctly.
Yes, that's correct. And I'm hoping, my only, I'm just concerned about the TennCare.
Yep.
I don't know how many calls or dollars that's going to affect us. It being TennCare, it's not going to be a huge amount per call, but I don't know how many calls, and we'd have to do a lot of digging to see. So I'm hoping and very optimistic that we're going to recoup. This company's very aggressive, and we're just very pleased and thankful that we've been able to get back with them.
Anything else? Commissioner Thompson?
Yes, sir. You said that the day that you told Digitech that you would swap companies, was they still under contract at that time?
To my understanding, yes, sir. Yeah, they from my understanding, now I've not seen the actual contract, which I think Ms. Freiberg has looked at it. With these companies, there is a clause that there is a wind down period. You know, we give them a 30-day notice, and I don't know how the language is in the contract, but there's a wind down period where they kind of close out business as the new company picks up business, and they work together, you know, swapping information. They just stopped without any notification to us or anything. We thought things were going as planned, and all of a sudden we find out, and we don't find this out until probably October, that nothing had been billed from Digitech since mid-August. So that's when, actually probably the end of September, mid-September, because that's when A&B jumped in and started trying to bill this stuff for us.
I guess probably my question, do we have any comeback on that at all? Or we're under contract that, Mayor?
I can't speak for Crystal, but it doesn't seem to be a lot that can be done during that time. They were supposed to cooperate. Lack of cooperation didn't occur, but can you sue for the lost revenue that you would have had? That's possible, but I think she would say something like it's probably not much you can do about it, if that makes sense. But I don't want to speak for her. But well, I know we had the discussions early on about it. What can we do to force them? And didn't have a good answer.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Chief, how about the budget? Did that have an impact on your budget for this year? Did it? In other words, are you going to meet your budget, or?
I sure hope so. We're optimistic. Looking at these numbers, if we keep gaining like we did in November, for certainly we should be. I pray that we fall on track.
Commissioner Lefford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, what caused, do you know the cause why Digitech just stopped? Do we know a cause? What?
They give us zero explanation. It just solidifies in my mind that you know, I'm kind of old school and go with gut feelings. Makes me realize that we made the correct choice in moving away from this company. If that's how they conduct their business, you know, we don't want to be involved with them.
I'm just confused that there's no ramifications to them for doing this. Is that the way you conduct business? Is there? If I had a reason, I guess I could understand, but I don't hear a reason why they just abruptly stopped. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get that. I don't understand that. But I guess that's just the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it, evidently.
You know, I'm sure there is some recourse, but I think you have to look at, and I'm speaking way out of my league here. Is the benefit going to outweigh the time, money, and effort putting in to fight this. You know, I was shocked. Of course, I'm still relatively new. Just had this past November was a year that I've been director. I did not go through the previous transition with the billing company, but in talking to our office staff, how things normally go, it was just, you know, there's a transition, and they normally work together, and they said that the last transition was flawless, and this just, I'm at a loss as well. It's not a very prudent way to do business, in my opinion.
Commissioner Hughes?
Chief Garen, I agree with you that it sounds like breach of contract. And I agree with you to the point where if it's worth the time, money to put into it. As of right now, we don't know if it is worth the time or money because we don't know the monetary amount that we've lost. Would you be able to find that out?
It would take some time, but I'm sure the girls could probably dig into that, because the biggest loss is going to be on the TennCare, and I don't see a big reason why we shouldn't be able to dig into that.
Thank you so much. I'd love to find that out. Could you have it within 30 days to say?
Should be able to, yes, sir.
You could get that for us, and I would truly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Making some notes. Sorry.
I guess in summary, all in all, I've been very pleased with how A&B has really stepped up and helped us out, because if they hadn't, we'd be in a much deeper hole.
I'll say this too, I was going to ask for that number as well, so I do appreciate you, Commissioner Hughes, for doing that, and to answer Commissioner Ledford's kind of comments a little bit. And in personal life, in my personal life and business, when we switch between companies, there are times where this takes place as well, where you might have warranty claims out there for certain products, and they will just stop working with you and stop dealing with you. And it's kind of, a hated almost retribution that kind of takes place for you leaving their business and leaving to doing business with them. And so, we'll try and get that number, and then speak with the mayor on it, and we'll let all the commissioners know what that number is, and have the mayor talk with Crystal and see about if weigh that, risk versus reward, and see what we can do. And since we kind of talked about billing update and kind of the collections report at kind of the same time, I think we kind of hit A and B in that first segment. If we want, we can kind of move over to hospital wait times, and then we'll do an update on pre-authorizations, fleet status, and staffing as well quickly. So if you want to hit if we want to do ER wait times and pre-authorizations together, we can knock out Tanoa in one fell swoop. So.
Yes, sir, absolutely. This is back on the front page of your handout. I dropped the ball at the beginning of the year as far as tracking the ER wait times. I felt like they were. I was keeping an ear on it, keeping a tab on it, but I wasn't physically tracking them. So we started retracking mid-August, August 23rd. And as you can see, in August we had a total of 214 transports to the ER. That's from the last couple of weeks of August, by the way. 25 of those transports waited over 30 minutes for a total of 1,124 minute wait time for August. However, for those couple of weeks, average wait time was approximately 20 minutes. As you can see, September, we had a ton of transports, 705 to the ER. 98 of those went over the 30-minute mark. And when I say over 30 minute, it could have been 31 minutes, 32, or it could have been up to 60. again, for a total of 4,317 minute total wait time. Again, for the whole month, the average wait time was, again, roughly 20 minutes. October, 657 transports. 73 of those went over the 30-minute mark for a total of 3,130 minutes. Again, that month averaged a 20-minute average wait time. November, 685 transports, 101 over the 30-minute mark for the month for a total of 4,373 minutes. Again, that month averaged out to about a 20-minute average wait time daily. What I'm seeing on these daily reports, and I've been sharing those, I think you're getting those monthly now, is days that we're getting hammered, the ER is getting hammered, and we get in a standstill. There's some days that flows wonderfully. Some days it's chaos. I think that's the new norm. I'm just very thankful that these times have improved greatly from when we very first started tracking them. They've been very dedicated to get us in and get us out. But there's just some days they're inundated. They're coming in the front door as fast as we're bringing them in the back door. And I do appreciate their willingness to really be committed to getting us in and out of there. And again, I will say, we have let some non-emergency calls, some of our convalescent calls, wait because, you know, of our volume and wait time, but we have not missed an emergency call as of yet, praise God, for any reason whatsoever. Any questions over the ER wait time?
Any questions? Commissioner Hughes?
No, I was going to let Commissioner Alford speak. He was going to speak first.
Okay.
On these averages, is that one ambulance, two ambulance, three ambulances, four ambulances, five ambulances?
Oh, yeah, it could be up to 5 or 8 ambulances.
So that's the point I'd like to find out. How many ambulances are sitting there waiting?
Yeah, sometimes we've had up to the whole fleet sitting there at one time, but they get them out. And a big thing is, you know, I'll drive by there certain times of day. We'll have every one of our ambulances there. Some of them are staging, what we call. We have them stage or go central is the terminology. When they're all busy, we move everything kind of to the center of the county. So there's been points in time where we've had every one of our ambulances sitting there with patients, but they're working diligently to get them out. And sometimes we've got 2 to 3 ambulances sitting there with others staging. And so we just kind of meet, that's our hub. When we get those really busy days, we move everybody central so we can cover the whole county in a timely manner.
I guess that's the point I'd like to find out is how many ambulances are sitting there waiting on that 20-minute average, you know. You got all your ambulances sitting there waiting 20 minutes, our whole county's not covered. 30,
Yeah, and it's
30 minutes.
very rarely does it happen that they're all stuck there. Now, it's in looking at the numbers, and I'll go through each of the time cards. You'll hit an area where you have maybe 3 that's there for a lengthy amount of time, and you can see where it breaks loose, where they get caught up and things start rolling again. But again, there's been days where we've had them all sitting up there, and that's when I usually the supervisor commander, when he hears that they're starting to back up, he goes. When we get all of them backed up, I go up there, and then we get them cleaned out real quick. So I'm always during the daytime, I'm always listening on the radio, see how it's going.
Any other questions?
Chief Karen, yeah, I got to commend you for keeping up with it. I really do believe the fact that you're keeping up with these, and able to speak with them about why they're waiting. Things of that has really helped out them, or helped out the times. However, I still am concerned about the 101 people that had to wait. And that was in November. It was 685 people, but still, I'm concerned about the 30 minutes, over 30 minutes, because it's their patient. I mean, once we cross onto their property, by law, that's their patient that we're taking care of. And if they're serious enough to be transported on an ambulance, then it's a serious, whatever it is extremely serious. Not always people walking in their door just to get checked because they've got the flu is as serious as a true medical emergency where you're in life and death. So that is my concern, and I hope that you're talking to them pretty strongly about that.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We are almost in daily communications with the ER management and the CEO. They're very dedicated. They realize that we're partners, and they're trying to do everything they can to make life easier for us and themselves. They've struggled with staffing as well, and some of those I notice on some of those time cards that I look at, the days we have. Say the 101, many of those days they'll have major calls going on, say like a code STEMI, which is a heart attack where it pulls several of their people into that room, or CPRs, things that's taken all their staff that would be focusing on our patients. They're having to pull into these serious situations. That's a big trend that I see when looking at these.
Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would imagine, and I don't know, this is all new stuff for me, and so this is really neat to learn and talk about, but I would imagine it's very situational. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
I mean,
That would be a good way to put it.
Just looking at it on paper, it's pretty easy to look at the data and say, well, this or that, but what we don't know is each situation has its own story, correct? And has its own context. So for me, what would happen if we're in a situation where we have 5 ambulances there waiting and a call came in? How does that unfold, if that's something you can talk about? If we need an ambulance to go out to a call?
Yes, absolutely. If it's, for instance, if we had 5 ambulances on the road, all 5 of them were stuck there, we received an emergency 911 call. The ambulance that's there that has the least patient, the lowest acuity patient, we would call it, the less severe patient, they're going in the nearest bed, chair, whatever we can find, and we give a handoff sheet to the charge nurse, because as you did speak earlier, once we come on that property, it's their patient, and we don't. Thank God we don't have to do this very often. I call that the nuclear option. They're going out in the lobby or the nearest chair we can find. We're putting them, and we're gone. We got to go, and they understand that. They don't like it, but that's just the way life is. We got to go.
Who makes the decision in terms of when a call is made? Say you come to my house, I call for 911, and an ambulance comes to my house. Who makes the decision about, hey, this person's going to take a ride? Is that on the paramedics? Is that on the individual? How does that work? I'm probably oversimplifying or asking a very genuine question.
No, absolutely. The question's totally fine. We base our response off of what 911 tells us. You call 911,
Yep.
Whatever you tell them, that's what they relay to us. They'll tell us whether it's an emergency or non-emergency call by prescribed guidelines that they have. Once we get to the scene and assess the patient, that's where we make the decision. Of course, we if you feel like it was necessary to call 911, we're coming to take you to the hospital. Many times, as you can see, those numbers, our responses far out total our transports.
Sure.
Many times we get there and they just wanted their blood pressure checked. They feel better, you know, no one getting that peace of mind. AMAs, we have and a lot of our call volume is going to pick folks up. We have a lot of fall calls. We'll go pick those folks up, but it's just each call is different. You just don't know until you get there.
But ultimately, you would say probably your staff is, I would say, overly accommodating, right? Like in terms of, hey, we're going to take them, even if it might not be necessary.
No,
Would that be-
absolutely, yeah.
okay.
If they request to go to the hospital, we take you.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Karen. Thank
Yes,
you, Mr.
sir.
Any other questions? I do want to say we've talked a good bit about these ER wait times and looking at the numbers and agreeing with Commissioner Collins. Like, it's super simple for me to look at 101 and say, well, that's 101 people that have waited over 30 minutes, or that's 101 ambulances that have been up there. But when you look at the number of transports, and I understand too that, you know, all those transports don't all go to Tenova. You know, I get that too. But, you know, 8% of your calls, of 8% of your transports are that are waiting over 30 minutes. And I think, you know, we look at that 8% and we'll talk about it a lot, but we don't talk about the 92% of those transports that are getting in a timely manner to get those people back. And something that I learned today too is that you guys are using the hospital kind of as a staging area to be able to get out to the north or to the west and to the south and to those other places. And, you know, I appreciate the hospital for really allowing you guys to do that, to kind of beat some of that traffic through town to where you guys can be closer as well. So, I on the recommendation of Chairman Cry, I got to meet with the CEO, Jarrett Millsaps, as well, and kind of talk with him. And I know that the wait times were discussed, and we also discussed, you know, the pre-authorizations and some of those other things as well. And I know that there has been a big cultural shift at that hospital, and I think I know Commissioner Ledford works up there, and he could probably say the same thing, is that there's been a big cultural shift. And just like every other medical facility, medical place in the world right now, they're struggling for nurses, they're struggling for doctors, they're struggling for LPNs and everywhere else. And I know that they are heavily recruiting and trying to bring those people in. And so I do want to say that, you know, thank you to them for being good partners with us and working with us and keeping this, you know, ER wait time list going so that we can confirm that it is going down. So I do appreciate that. Quickly, I know we've got another meeting here in a few minutes. The Tenova pre-authorizations, I know we kind of discussed that a little bit, but can you kind of give us an idea of how that's going and how that's working with you guys?
Yes, sir. And I apologize that I don't have any more numbers other than September and October. This is until we get things set up with our new billing company, they've got a option where we're going to be able just to hit a button and print this report. The office personnel had to dig really hard for these numbers. Basically had to go through all the month of September and October through the CAD system and our reporting system. But this has improved tremendously. In September, we had a total of 209 transfers out of Tenova. Out of those 209, 18, the ball got dropped. No pre-authorization was obtained. In October, we had 227 total, and 24 did not get authorized. In discussions with CEO Millsaps and looking at the timestamps and patients' demographics, most of these are coming out of the ER after business hours. And, you know, we would like to see none missed, but I'm so thankful. We've seen a tremendous turnaround on the floors. That was the Achilles heel at one time. They were dropping the ball tremendous amount on the floors during the day, not getting these authorizations. So I'm very thankful that you know, out of 436 total transfers, you know, we'd like to see, in a wonderful world, we'd like to see that 0 instead of 42.
Sure.
But compared to what we used to see, that is such an improvement. I don't know. He and I have talked, and we're looking at ways to whittle that number down in the ER. And I will say, compared to the other administration, and not being disparaging toward their former administration team, I've got a better working relationship with this team. They're committed to keeping an open channel of communications, and when things are brought to their attention, they address it. It's
Wonderful.
not just we just don't have anecdotal conversations. So I'm very pleased and thankful for the working relationship we have with them.
I read in here staffing as well, 60 full-time employees, 32 paramedics, several currently in medical or in medic school currently, including the 2 on scholarship. In the process are hiring full-time EMT and full-time EMTB, and then it says that we'll only have 2 full-time vacancies, correct?
That's correct.
After those 2 are hired, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Commissioner Thompson? Or anything for today?
Okay, I have one thing. I was looking at your totals here. Self-supported. We've always looked at ambulance service as being pretty close to self-supportive at the end of the budget year, and that concerns me. What is it looking like this year compared to last? In other words, is it going to come up to the amount that you had last year for its collections? And
we really hope to. It's kind of hard to tell at this second with this transition with that billing company, but if the trend keeps going like we see in November, we should meet our projected budget. I think we projected 4.5. So I really wish I could give you a more definitive answer, Chairman Thompson, but until we get some good rolling numbers from this new billing company, and I hope to have that by the next meeting for sure, I can give you some better answers.
that's fine. That always concerns me because every year, you know, we think we'd like to come out right on top. You know,
Absolutely.
So hopefully we'll do that this year.
I sure do
That's all I
hope
have.
so too.
So you got questions? Give me one second. Chairman Cry.
Thank you very much. I have a question on fleet status. A couple of comments. The 14 ambulances, does that include the one that we don't have yet, 6 months out van, or would that make 15?
That will make 15.
Okay, let's go back to the 14. So you have 4 that's offline. That's 28.6% of your vehicle fleet aren't functioning. So we're down to 10. How many of those are the vans that aren't suitable necessarily for emergency calls?
We've got 2 vans currently running in the fleet. Those are stocked and certified with the state as ALS units. They can run the emergency calls, and we would like to use those for our convalescent transports, but you know, due to the mechanical issues and stuff. They're used as frontline units.
I think we originally ordered them or approved the ordering of them as convalescent transportation units. We could increase the cash flow to the county, but that's not the point. I think you see the drift of where I'm going. 14 ambulances, 28% of them are deadline. So that's kind of that's a challenge. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Hughes.
Chief Aaron, quick question. On these ER wait times and the pre-authorization, is there a percentage that you're looking for that where we want the hospital to be at? The reason I ask is because right now, just on the pre-authorization, although it's 436, 10% of that we've lost. There's no funds coming in for it. It's gone. I would love to know the amount that we lost off from that. But just in November on the wait times, that was around 15% itself. So is there a number that we're looking for, a percentage of what will be acceptable from us?
I haven't established a number. I'm just grasping for improvement at the moment. Once I get a more established, I would like to set a goal. But right now, we're just striving for improvement. I know that is not a very accurate answer to your question, but I guess the answer is I don't have a percentage in mind at the time. We're just working toward improvement.
Do you think that within 6 months we may have enough data that we can set something like this percentage that we're striving for?
I certainly
on
think
both of them.
I certainly think so. With this new billing company being able to pull and extract reports very easily, we'll have some much solid data that we can look at.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Alford, you still have a question?
Just a quick one.
Yes,
I
sir.
see we're getting guests coming in. The number of responses on that second page, like, for example, November was 2270 and transports was 1165. Do we charge for non-response or non-transporting?
The only thing, that number that we do charge for those transports would be blood draws that we do for law enforcement. There is a charge for the city and county sheriff's department that they pay. The rest of it, there's no charge for the AMAs or the lift assists and things of that nature.
So we've never discussed minor charges for anything like that?
Not to my knowledge. Not since I've been in this position.
I just think it's something you may want to look at one of these days.
And we've seen of course, we have a very huge uptick, welfare sleep calls. You cannot take a nap in Cleveland, Tennessee in your vehicle. They're going to call somebody's going to call 911. We go out numerous times a day for things like that. And you get out there and, it's just one of the perils of the times.
Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I would say, I appreciate the conversation on outcomes, but I would always encourage you focus on the processes, because outcomes are not relevant if you don't know what your processes are. So we can shoot for whatever data we want to have, but if we don't evaluate what we're doing day to day and evaluating what's, hey, how can we improve this? How can we, cut that out? We're not going to reach those goals. So I appreciate your focus on the process, and I would encourage you to continue to do that. Thank you, Mr. Guerin.
Thanks, sir.
Any other questions? Chief Guerin, thank you so much for being here today. Quickly, 2 notes that I wrote down. Look at the loss and see what the loss was in those 30 days that Commissioner Hughes asked for. If we could try and have that, say, I know it's Christmas time and you're going to be having staff that's out and all that. So maybe by the end of January, we'll get the whole month of December, whole month of end of January, we could look at that. And then also the reports that we asked about, the pre-authorizations from Tenova, from our internal reporting with A&B. If we could try and speak with our team, with them to see when that reporting could be ready, to where we could start looking at those processes, I think we should be good to go.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Seeing none and hearing none. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to communicate? When we started this meeting, there was nobody here. And now when we ended, this is probably the most full I've seen it in the past year, but I see that we have, is it Michigan Avenue? Is that where you guys are from? Well, we are looking forward to hearing all of you guys sing here at our noon meeting coming up. Yeah. So yeah, let that be shown in the record that the EMS committee holds the record for most attended so far this year. So first meeting we've had, and we're rolling with it. So hearing no communication from the audience, we'll adjourn this meeting.